my name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I'm here with another historical romance vlog, and I'm really excited for this one because I am actually reading The Madness of Lord Ian MacKenzie by Jennifer Ashley. This is another new to me author, so this is one of my new to me author historical romance vlogs. I'm really excited for this one. I'm actually already started, so I'm kind of jumping in a little bit late to starting this vlog, but I don't know, I might do a couple of the books. I think I'm going to do the first two books in this series. And I'm really excited because actually I'm doing a buddy read with Crystal from Books Forever After. So, I'm actually, excited we're kind of chatting with, also Terry as she's doing it with us, but we are chatting, kind of giving our thoughts, and that's always fun, So anyways, I'm very excited to do this one because it has had a lot of hype, and a lot of people talk about how it's amazing that she wrote a hero that is basically on the spectrum. It's not explicitly stated in this, but he is on the spectrum, and so I really find that interesting, especially reading it in historical romance and kind of how somebody from that time would have been treated. So anyways, I might be a little close to being halfway done with the book. So I'm maybe 40% through, I'm guessing, because I'm not fully halfway through. But I'm absolutely loving this. I'm loving the writing. It sucked me in right away. So in this we have, let me see, Beth. Sorry, I was trying to remember her name. Beth, and she is actually a widow. She came from not really many means. Her dad was actually kind of like a con artist. Like when you find out what's revealed about him actually being kind of a con artist and pretending he came from a family of means and everything. And her mother kind of had a bad situation where she did have to kind of be a prostitute at one point because she was left in a bad situation. But Beth ended up, marrying this really nice man. I think he was a vicar, if I'm remembering correctly. And he passed away, and she ended up being a companion to this older rich woman. And so she spent years with this woman, and that woman ended up leaving all her money, her wealth, her big house to her. And so Beth is actually gonna get married. She just kind of wants it for security purposes. She doesn't need security. She's got plenty of money. But she's marrying this guy that is not so great. And in the introduction to this, we have Lord Ian MacKenzie. People call him Mad. He had spent time in asylums because he's eccentric. He is on the spectrum, and he, has different complications that come up. So he's definitely not crazy. He's not mad, and Beth never sees him that way, which I love. But he actually knows this guy, and the guy's kind of bragging about how he's getting married and how gorgeous she is and blah blah, and come meet them at the opera. So he had his servant, who his family, they make their valets actually people they save off the streets or situations. So I really love this. This guy's like a jack of all trades, and he has this guy. Oh, sorry, I'm at work. Okay, so he has this guy actually look into her, find out everything to do with her, and he shows up, and he's really smitten and very intrigued by her immediately. And so he had written a letter to warn her, because the guy that she's marrying has not just multiple mistresses, but he keeps them in a house. And I thought this was kind of kinky for a historical, but he likes to be their slave. So he basically warned her, what kind of she was getting into. And then he's very blunt. He's very honest. He doesn't know how to lie. He doesn't get social cues. He's having a hard time looking her in the eye, all of that kind of stuff. And he basically says, well, I'll marry you. I don't care about your freaking money. Because he's the guy's just marrying you for your money. And so she's like, why would you marry me? And he's like, because you have beautiful eyes. And she was like, how would you know? You haven't even looked at my eyes. And he's like, I know. So when I was reading that, I basically decided I was going to start like annotating this. So I've been highlighting and annotating as I go. And I'm just adoring Ian so much. He's so like, I have like such a warm, fuzzy feelings for Ian. You know, and he basically tells her right away, like, I can't love. Like, I don't know how to love. I don't know emotions. You know, I can't really do that. But I would, you know, be good to you. And she's also kind of like, well, why do you want to marry me? He's like, because I want to take you to bed. Like, he's very blunt and honest and just lays it out there. And what I love is Beth is very attracted to him and not put off by how blunt he is and how different he is from like other people. But she basically kind of turns him down, gets out of that marriage, and decides to go to Paris. She has no artistic ability, but decides, you know, I'm going to try to do artist stuff in Paris. And she runs into his brother, who is also a painter, and he's like an artist there. And she also runs into his brother's wife, which is Isabella, which I'm very interested in this couple. They're going to be the couple in the second book. And they are married, but they've been split up for years. And you could just tell it's a devastating story. So I think it's going to be an amazing second chance. So I think I'm definitely going to read that one next for this vlog. But so she kind of runs into him. He kind of decides, oh, I can help you, like give you some lessons. And Ian literally followed her to Paris and like wants to win her over and make her his wife. But now she's like, well, I don't have a need to get married. I don't, you know, I have money. I can just do what I want and kind of live this carefree lifestyle. So he is determined to like kind of make her change her mind. He definitely wants to hook up with her, and they just form this really sweet friendship, and she calls him her friend, and he's like, I've never had like a friend. I have my brothers and my family, but like I've never had like a friend. And that's just heartbreaking, you know, what he's been through, what he suffered through at the asylum with like shock treatments and, you know, these just horrible treatment, how they would deal with people in asylums. And so he's like kind of breaking down because she definitely is attracted to him. And so she even approaches him like, hey, do you think you'd be okay with us just having like liaisons? You know, like I want to have sexual interest in you. But like, I don't want to be your mistress. I just want to be your friend that we kind of, you know, it's like a friends with benefits thing, which he's like, hell yeah. Like, let's start, you know, doing it now. And they like start to kind of hook up. They don't really, he goes down on her a lot. She's given him a blowjob in a carriage. Like, it's pretty spicy. I'm loving it. They haven't had sex yet. But they definitely are attracted to each other. And so I'm just loving this. I'm on my break, so I'm trying to rush through this, but I really love Ian's character. There's also this detective, or, you know, somebody from the Scotland Yard that has it in for the MacKenzies. And he has been trying to get Ian for murder. Something that happened like many years ago that he knows Ian did it. We know that Ian was there and his brothers got involved, but we know Ian didn't really kill her. And then another girl just got murdered right before he went to Paris and followed her to Paris. So now the Scotland Yard detective or inspector, whatever you call it, he follows them to Paris and is basically hounding them, harassing her. He literally told her to marry him instead because she can't get involved with the MacKenzies. And there's one point where he's kind of manhandling her, and Ian's going by in a carriage with his brother, and he sees, and he like flies out of the carriage and is like choking him, and he's like, I told you to stay away from her, or I will fucking kill you, you know, that kind of thing. And so we definitely have touch her and die vibes, but like he has a very bad, you know, anger problem, which he kind of brings up, like not being able to understand situations, being confused, all that kind of stuff. He had a lot of anger issues as a child, which is completely understandable. So like he thinks after that she's gonna want nothing to do with him, and she actually shows up to his brother's art studio to like apologize to them for like, you know, getting involved in their life. We get to learn about, the inspector basically tells her all about like the other wives of these guys, like that both like died and all this kind of crazy stuff. So like he's like, everything that MacKenzies touch, you know, dies. Like it. So he's like, if you side with them, like I will come after you, I'll ruin you. And he knows about her like con father and all that kind of stuff. So But her and Ian are very smitten. They end up like going to this casino one night with Isabella and stuff, and it ends up getting raided by cops, which we know is because of this, inspector. And so they kind of have to flee out in the rain, and now they're like stuck in this like kind of shitty hotel type of situation and so that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I'm loving this. I love Ian. I'm loving how sweet he is. He's very into her, but he's like, at one point he's like, well, you loved your husband, like, tell me, what does that feel like? Because he can't really understand. He understands sexual attraction and lust, but he can't fully get like being in love with somebody. So anyways, I'm freaking loving this. I am so excited I'm finally reading this. Jennifer Ashley is a fantastic author. Like, I'm loving it. So I got to get back to work. I don't know if I skipped over things, but it's already been 10 minutes of me talking. So what else is new? So I will check back in with you guys probably when I finish the book, unless I have more updates that I have to give you, because I don't want to make this vlog too long. All right. See you guys on the next clip. Hey guys. So I am back with my final check-in, at least on this first book. Because I'm definitely going to be continuing with the second book next month. I'm putting it on my TBR. But I did finish The Madness of Lord Ian MacKenzie, and I really loved this. Sorry, I'm kind of doing my check-in a little bit late. It's been like a couple days, honestly, since I finished, and I'm so sorry. I just kind of got busy and haven't checked in. So I do apologize. Sometimes this is what happens to me when I do vlogs. But this book was just such a treat. And so was Lord Ian MacKenzie. I think where we left off on my last check-in was that they were kind of at this kind of shady, whatever, lower income type of inn together. And needless to say, things get hot and heavy between them. And it's fantastic. I loved it. I love their connection. It's just, Ian is just so precious in this. There's even a point where, like, he can't ever look her in the eyes. He has an issue with that. And I think like it happened during their sex, was like he actually looks her in the eyes, if I can find it, because I was annotating this and it's been a couple days. Oh, there was this part where he was like, in that moment, Ian opened his eyes like twin suns coming into view and let his gaze directly meet Beth's. Beth stopped breathing for the first time since she'd met him. Ian's gaze fully connected with hers. And I just like wrote, oh my God, I was very excited. He couldn't hold her stare, like hold her gaze long. And she was kind of asking him about it. And he was like, hold on. I don't even know if I have this anywhere highlighted. I might have not had it in that section. Anyways, he basically, was having issues maintaining that eye contact with her, and she really wanted him to, but also kind of has to understand that this is how Ian is and it's uncomfortable for him. So when they are stuck there, the detective is still outside and everything, and basically what he's gonna do is he's gonna take this as his opportunity to wed her. So he had actually already called like his, manservant, his valet and his brothers and stuff. And they got like somebody over there to basically quickly wed them in that like inn, so that when they walked out, they were married and they couldn't I think they were worried about getting arrested for her like having sex with him or whatever. Really worried, like basically using that as an excuse to finally have her marry him. So they do get married, and then now she's going to basically be going to Scotland, to his brother's home. At the same time, too, his older brother, which is like the more reserved, like he's the actual Duke, I believe. And he was very pretty negative about seeing what was going on with his brother and this woman. And he's very like protective of him. But we kind of also learn that like he did help him get out of the asylum. But he also uses his insane, amazing intelligence for his own favors, you know, like he uses it. And Ian has no problem with it. She kind of gets upset, like he's using you. He's taking advantage of you, and he's like, I don't care, you know, if I can help him, I'll help him. You know, he got me out of there and I'm grateful, so I'll help him. So he doesn't really think of it as a big deal at all. But hold on, let me find this. Okay, so I love it when they move to Scotland. He actually has her move into the bedroom with him, which she was kind of surprised because not everybody does that. And he like wanted her to sleep with him every night. And they have just such little sweet like conversations. That's what I love about them, is she's just so accepting of him and loving. And she already knows she's falling in love with him, and that she's worried about heading towards heartbreak because he's already admitted like he won't be able to love her. Like he doesn't know how to do that. So it's very, you know, hard for her. But there's this one part where he was like, my memory is too damn good. I can't blot out things. I want to remember you alone here with me, or in the pension in Paris. You and me, not Fellows or Mather or my brother or High Helburn. He goes, it plays over and over again in my head like a melody that won't stop. Because she is also trying to figure out and have him talk to her about what happened with that murder and like how he's like involved and what really happened. She wants him to confide in her and trust her. And he like just doesn't want them connected in any way. He doesn't want that to tarnish her or anything. And this is just so sweet because he goes, your being with me makes it stop. It's like the Ming bowls. When I touch them and feel them, everything stops. Nothing matters. You are the same. That is why I brought you here, to keep you with me, where you can please make everything stop. And I just put, so sweet but sad, poor Ian. But Beth really does help him. So that's really sweet. So she does have an adjustment period because like his older brother's not very friendly to her and kind of wants to just get rid of her. But Ian is like not having it. He won't hear anything that his brother has to say on it. It's like, she's here, so you just need to move the hell on. There's one point where she is also learning from one of his other brothers to ride a horse and all that kind of stuff. And she happens to overhear him having like kind of an argument with his older Duke brother about, you know, the crime and everything and the murder and all that kind of stuff. And like the brother was kind of like, oh, well, she's married to you, so she can't really go against you in court. So that's a good reason to keep her. And so she's just really hurt. But what I loved is she doesn't take this out on Ian or blame Ian for these thoughts or what's going on. She just wants him to open up to her and like confide in her about what happened. Hold on, let me check this real quick. Okay, sorry, I was trying to remember because it's been a couple days. But there is a time when she's trying to push him for that information and he gets like really frustrated and he kind of goes off and he ends up like his, you know, valet knows like he's on one of his bad spells type of situations. So he kind of follows him, and he had gotten the gun and he was like, load this gun for me. He had these couple guns and he was just like shooting at these rocks. Like his valet wasn't going to do it. So he went to like some random guy like that was kind of scared and did it. And so she literally comes to kind of like stop him and help. And so, you know, he just feels like devastated by that. And so they end up going back home, making love and all that kind of stuff. But he has these periods where he has to get away to clear his head and be away from everybody. And so he kind of does that for a couple days. And basically Beth takes it on herself because she knows he'll be gone for a few days, that she's going to go back to London to basically confront that detective and get to the bottom of what happened and try to clear her husband's name. And so she goes to London. And she knows these women of the night and different things from like her husband, who was like a vicar, his work with these people. And so she kind of does her own investigative work, and it kind of leads her to the place that this all went down, where it was, you know, a brothel type of thing, that the Duke actually owned that house, and the woman that was running it was like his mistress. And she is basically kind of like the prime suspect for her, because she was obsessed with the Duke and would do anything for him. And the girl that had been killed was like threatening to kind of like ruin his career and politics and all this kind of stuff. She was basically saying that stuff to Ian earlier in the night, and he was like, basically left or whatever. Then his brother went back, and so basically, to sum it up, this is all very confusing and convoluted, but basically Ian and his brother both thought the other person killed her, so they were both protecting each other, but like never really discussing the issue. And so she is like, kind of knows it's this chick, she must have done it. So all this stuff goes down because Ian follows her. He shows up there. She ends up chasing down the chick because she is running off. She gets stabbed by this chick, and she's like gonna die, like she's bleeding out. It's a really bad situation. And we basically kind of found out the girl that had been murdered had like a female lover, and that chick was the one that killed her. But this woman that ran that house ended up killing the second woman, the most recent murder, because she was like a loose end and she didn't want her man to like get in trouble. Anyways, if you understood that, I'm sorry. I was a shit show at explaining that. But anyways, what ends up happening is some really sweet, caretaking, beautiful moments, because Ian gets her help, takes her back to the home, and he like doesn't leave her side because she's suffering with like fever, and she's out of it for quite a while, where he thinks she's gonna die and he can't imagine living without her. And so this kind of opens up his eyes to how deep his feelings really are, and that he does love her. He doesn't say it till like later, but it's really beautiful when they do. Like he does say he loves her, and it's just really sweet. But she gets, you know, she is fine. She mends and everything. And then we find out the reason this detective had it out for them was because he was like actually their father's bastard, and he felt like he deserved to be the Duke, you know, blah, blah, blah. Even though he was a bastard, he was an illegitimate child. But him and his mother kind of grew up in like barely having any money and working hard for everything they have. And while these, you know, MacKenzies have it all. And so, you know, they're like, well, you should have just told us. Like, we would have recognized you and brought you in to the MacKenzies. Like, so it's just kind of ridiculous. But anyways, they are so sweet. I loved this couple so much. Let me see if I can get to the part where he says he loves her. Oh, okay, because he was watching her when she was out, like really sick, you know, and fever and dying. And she's like, it's not fair that you look at me only when I'm extremely ill. Now that I'm fully awake and feeling better, you turn away. And he says, because when I look at you, I forget everything. I lose all track of what I'm saying or doing. I can see only your eyes. You have such beautiful eyes. And I'm just like, oh, Ian. He is so precious. I just love him so much. So like these two, I just think they had such a beautiful friendship connection. They had a great sexual relationship too. And I just loved Ian finding his perfect match and able, you know, to find happiness. Let me just double check here. Okay, so this is the part. He's like, he held her gaze steadily, not blinking or shifting away, which is a huge deal on its own. And it said, I love you, he said. Love you, Ian repeated. His gaze bore into hers harder than hearts ever could hope to. Love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Ian, Beth laughed. Love you, he murmured, against her lips, her face, against the curve of her neck. Love you. And she's like, I love you too. Are you going to say it all night? He says, I'll say it until I'm so hard I can't speak. I just love him. So it was just so sweet. And so, you know, they do end up also getting pregnant. And so she's going to be having his baby. And so now we're kind of like leading up to his brother and I'm sorry, I forgot her name. God, it totally went out of my head. But anyways, the next romance, which I'm really, really excited for. So I ended up giving this one 5 stars. It wasn't fully a 6-star. It kind of went slow in a couple places for me, but really, I read it in a couple days. It blew me away. I adored Ian. I love getting that representation in a historical romance of somebody that's on the spectrum. And I just really thought it was such a beautiful story. I loved the writing, so I will definitely be looking into more of Jennifer Ashley, and I'll probably read this entire series. So anyways, that's enough. I've kind of talked a long time on this again, but I am probably we're gonna take a pause. It's almost the end of March anyways, but I'm not sure when I will get to the second book to finish it in April, because I have a lot of, I think I have more ALCs than ARCs, so hopefully I'll get to it quickly. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this, and I will check back in with you once I start the second one. Hey guys, so I'm finally back with this vlog. It's been a bit, but I was postponing doing the second book because it was a second chance, and that would fit into the Ever After-thon that I'm currently in right now as I'm filming this. Hopefully I'll post this pretty quickly since it's been a delay. But this is for Lady Isabella's Scandalous Marriage. Now, in the previous book, I did talk about Isabella and her relationship, and that is with Mac, and he was the painter and all of that. And so this is their kind of like marriage in trouble, second chance romance. I did actually start this earlier this week, but I had to put it down because I had too many arcs to get through. So I had to take a break from it, even though I did not want to put it down. So I actually started this when we were doing some reading sprints on my channel for Ever After-thon. Thank you to those that watched. On this one, it was literally me by myself. So that was interesting, but I kind of think I might want to start doing a weekly reading sprint type of thing. Let me know if you would be interested in that, or if I should do that, even if it's just me by myself. It's kind of helps me to keep on track and read more, and it's just fun to kind of engage with you guys. So anyways, I did start this, but I didn't get that far. I think I'm about 20% in because I did stop reading it after the reading sprints to go to the arcs. But what I will say is the angst in this and the longing is top tier. So we have Isabella and Mac, and they have been split up. They had a very scandalous marriage, obviously, from the title. He had like met her, I think it might have been at her coming out, her like ball, and they immediately like were smitten like that night, locked eyes, were totally in on each other, kind of had almost a rendezvous, I think, outside on the, when they did a walk. And basically that night they elope and they go off and get married. And that is so scandalous for this time, especially because like her family basically wrote her off after this and wouldn't speak to her because she did this. But she was very in love with Mac, and they were married and very close and just had a beautiful relationship. And for some reason, she left him. I think she left him like a letter or two and just left him one day and completely devastated him. Now, I think I know the reason that she left him, but I'm not going to jump into that yet. But you could just feel the longing on both sides. I mean, Mac is just patiently waiting to get her back. But now that they're kind of in each other's orbit again, and they're showing up at parties, she's trying to kind of be friendly with him so that they're not so crazy, it's so awkward and so much angst and tension between them every time they see each other. And Mac just wants her back. He really wants to be with her. And so it's just, I don't know, you guys, I'm only 20% in, and the mutual longing is real. They have such an amazing connection, and you can just feel how much they love each other. But there's obviously something big that made her leave him. And so There is also this other plot going on of somebody is like putting in artwork like as Mac. He never really sold his stuff. He did it for him, and it would be shown places, and somebody's submitting artwork and signing it as Mac, and it's not him. And so she's determined to find out who is. He doesn't even really care. He hasn't really enjoyed his art ever since they split. He's really been having a trouble painting beautiful paintings again that have things that he has connection to. And so he's kind of just like, he doesn't really care, but he's willing to get involved because it helps him get closer to her, because she's really determined to get to the bottom of this. They end up kind of going and talking to the guy that sold the painting, and he said Matt came in himself, although it wasn't him, it was like his assistant that got it. But the guy that like was supposed to get paid for it has never taken his payment. So that's kind of weird, because you're thinking that person would be going after just to make money. But they haven't even got the payment for it. So it's an interesting little side thing going on. But basically you're having them kind of running into each other. There's so many sweet like moments, longing, okay, I've probably said longing so many times, but it is so good. Jennifer Ashley just like hooks you. Her writing is so good. Like, I am invested. I believe in this couple. I want them to be together, and I'm barely in there. Like, I'm only 20% in. So I'm excited because I am going to get back to this today, even though I have a couple arcs again that are due this week. I really want to read this first. So I'm going to focus on this and try to get more read. So I am loving it already. I am loving it more than the first book. I love the first book. It was 5 stars, as I said. I thought it was very moving. I love Lord Ian MacKenzie and that whole thing. But this one just, I don't know, it's going up a level for me. I'm really connecting to it. And I'm really picky about second chance. So that should tell you something. Okay, guys, so I am going to see you guys on the next clip. Hopefully, I'll check in when I get about halfway through. I really want to finish this today, but I don't know if I'll have enough time. My son wants me to play Red Dead online with him. So now that I finally have good internet with Starlink, I can do online gaming. So my son has been like all about it. So hopefully I'll be able to get some reading in before he wants me to play games with him. But all right, guys, I will see you guys on the next clip, and hopefully it's still going to be blowing me away. Hey guys, I am back. It's really late at night. I'm looking tore up. I think it's like past 12 o'clock at night, but I got about 50% through. And I just wanted to do a check-in right away while it's kind of fresh, because of course my son did interrupt me and wanted to play video games, and I had, the live show going on and all this stuff today. So I didn't have a ton of time to read, but I did get about 50% through, a little bit over 50% through. And I got really emotional reading this book. Sorry, my heater was just on, so hope it wasn't too loud. But I'm not even sure what I even summed up in my first clip, because I wasn't that far into it. But basically, Mac is trying to get Isabella back as his wife. He's trying to woo her. He's telling her he's here for the long game. He doesn't want... There's so many swoony lines about him telling her how much he loves her, and that he doesn't just want a hookup, because they kind of have some kisses, some touches going on. And he's like, I don't just want that. Like, that's not enough for me. I want all of you. Like, he wants all of her. He wants them to be together. So hold on. I have a noise going on over here. Let me check. Hold on just 1 second. Okay, sorry. My cat was doing something over there. I couldn't handle. So anyways, so he wants all of her, and she's like, I'm just not ready. Like, I need more time. They're both not denying that they love each other, but things went wrong in their marriage. And, we're going to slowly figure out what that is. I kind of had an idea what it was, and I was right. Not like that was a big feat or anything. I think it was kind of obvious. But there's that ongoing plot too of like this guy that looks like him that's selling his paintings, like forging paintings of his. And then another thing ends up happening where, you know, Mac has not really been able to paint good for years. Ever since his split with her, his painting just has lacked. His muse is not in his life. And so he hasn't really been painting well. But after kind of showing up at one of her house parties, they were like kind of kissing up in like the stairs and just like spending time together, and you just feel the chemistry and again the longing between them. He ends up going home and he's like paints like 3 paintings, I think, like in a week. But like one day he's like in a fever painting. He's just painting from memory, painting about her. And it's like the first good paintings he's had for years. And all of a sudden a fire, like he notices a fire, and he wasn't paying enough attention because he was so focused on his painting. And somebody had set fire in a specific room. And the house was going up in smoke, and so he got the paintings, handed them to his guy, who he has like his valet. I guess like I think I brought this up in the previous one. I'm not sure, but they have like pick their own valets, and his valet was a pugilist or whatever, a boxer, and so I just love that. It's so different. But he gives the paintings to his valet because these 2 maids are like not coming down from their room, and he's worried about them. He's like, take the paintings, get them out of here. They mean everything. Get them out of here. I'll be fine. And so he goes up and rescues them. But the fire was so bad, like he had to end up going up through like the light window, whatever. Sorry, I can't talk. It's so late, you guys. The window up above, and he ends up getting them out of there, jumping across to the other house. So, I mean, somebody lit a fire on purpose. And it was right close to where his bedroom is. His art room. And that has all those paints and flammable things. So, I mean, it could have been so bad knowing that there was like maids and innocent people in this house. So he's infuriated, and the house is like, they managed to kind of save it, but it's pretty effed up, not livable. So he ends up showing up with his, all of his household at Isabella's house, and decides to stay there. And she's like, they can stay here, but like, you need to go to a hotel. And he's like, I can't go to a hotel like this. I need to get like bathed and all this BS. And so he ends up staying there for a few days because they're actually about to go to Scotland, I believe. Somewhere, I think they were going to Scotland. I can't remember. But they were going to important races of his brother Cam, who like breeds horses, and so they're about to go to these horse races, so he stays there till they go to that. And so they also have some pretty good intimate moments where she decides they have like such a great sexual relationship. You get to hear about their past and how adventurous they were together, and she like ends up going down on him like in the room while they're drinking tea, and uses like the cream from the freaking scones, and it was hot. I'm surprised how hot these are for a historical romance. I'm loving it. And so they definitely have just such an amazing chemistry. Like, they love each other so much, but they have this baggage from their marriage. And you start to learn, too, through all these, like, little articles that are the beginning of each chapter that's showing their history of, like, they were always in the scandalous marriage that was in the newspapers. And you get to see kind of a trend of, like, him never being there, him being away. He would, like, leave for months at a time or weeks and then return home. And so she really felt alone. And you could kind of see that, like, he also had a really big drinking problem. He kind of escaped in his alcohol and drinking and would, not be his best self. So now Mac has been sober. He's not drinking anymore. And so, they end up going to this race, and Beth and Ian are there, and Beth is pregnant, and she kind of almost collapsed. She looks really white as a sheet, and so they freak out. Of course, Ian's so protective over Beth, and they kind of rush her home, and Isabella's right there with them. And she's freaking out because the doctor's in there with them forever. And so, you see her devastation, her crying, her freaking out about her losing the baby and all of this stuff. And so you can kind of see the writing on the wall of what probably happened to her. And, lo and behold, everything's okay with Beth. She's fine. But she was crying, and, and she's like, I didn't mean to worry you, Isabella. And Ian, of course, because, he is on the spectrum, he just says what he's thinking. He doesn't get nuances of not saying things. And he was just like, oh yeah, Isabella had a miscarriage. The baby was three months old. And then Mac was nowhere to be found because he had went away and we had to look for him for 5 days. And so she was alone for 5 days. So you get to see where her issues are with Mac, and that she went through that alone. And Matt comes in right after that and was like, that was the biggest mistake I ever made. I feel horrible. He feels so much guilt for that. So you get to see, and that really got me emotional, that scene. I was getting really teary-eyed because it just hits you of the devastation that Isabella went through. And then she didn't have her partner with her, and he was kind of drunk all the time and, not there. So she ended up leaving him because she couldn't take that anymore. And that's part of the problem, is she wants to be with him. She wants to trust in him, but she's done that so many times. And then he ends up leaving, and the same cycle happens all over again. So that's kind of where the trust issues come into play. Well, after this race, they basically end up going to the castle, the Scottish castle that they have, and they're staying there. And she finds the paintings of her, and she's just like, these are the best paintings you've done. You can't, he's like, oh, I'll just burn them, because he felt like she would be upset that he was painting her. And she was like, they kind of are bantering, and she's like, oh, how about, you paint me? Again, because he did have a bet about doing erotic kind of paintings with these guys, and he was just going to lose the bet because he really wasn't able to paint good. And she's like, well, you could use my body and just put somebody else's face on it. But he was like, I don't want anybody else seeing you. I only get to see you. I don't paint these for anybody else. I just love them. So they end up doing this thing where she's going to pose nude for him in a more erotic fashion. And they don't even get to painting because they're just so into each other. They have all this great witty banter, and they're going for it. They're kissing, and they're both getting naked, and she wants it. And so he checks with her multiple times for consent to make sure, because he's like, this isn't all I want. And she's like, well, can't we take it as it comes? And so they have sex, and I loved it. It was so sweet because you could just see that this was a married, comfortable couple together, but also a couple that was estranged coming together. There was just so many dynamics to that scene, and it was just really beautiful. Even parts where he was still hard on her, and he's laughing because it's he's been celibate the whole time they've been apart. And then, of course, this beautiful moment gets interrupted. And he goes downstairs because his brother wants to see him. And there's a woman there. She's really frail. She's a French woman. And she's claiming that her child is his. And he's like, I've never seen this woman before in my life. And so now all this, and she's basically dying. She's at death's door. She was abandoned by Mac, supposedly. And, he left his wife for her and then abandoned her and the child and went back. And so she basically did all she could to get to them now to be able to, bring the baby to him because she knew she was dying. And so, what I loved about this scene was Ian immediately was like, that's not his baby. The age isn't right. Basically calls out the facts. And then like Isabella doesn't jump to conclusions. She just jumps to helping this poor woman who is at death's door, is like collapsing, gets a doctor. She's taking care of her. And then this poor little girl, you know, she's like crying, and like Ian brings blocks up from upstairs. It was just such a sweet scene. And then she only really wants to be with Mac because supposedly Mac is her father. When he was taking the woman upstairs to lay in a bed, she like did notice, like you could tell by her facial expression, she knew it wasn't really the Mac she knew. So, I mean, we all know that this is this guy, this imposter, but it's like, what is this guy's motives? These are like extreme lengths. Is he trying to take his persona? Is he like out for revenge? I have no idea. But I love the fact that Isabella didn't believe it, and she immediately didn't question him about it. And they kind of have this beautiful conversation, and she wants to take the baby, Amy, as her own. And he's like, we can't do that. Like, they'll assume that it's like my illegitimate bastard or something. And she's like, I don't care what anybody says anymore. I'm taking that baby. It is not being raised in poverty. And then he realizes how much she's been yearning for a child. And so, like, she's like, I'm taking this baby, you know. So now they're going to have to return back to London to kind of get things in order. But that's kind of where I'm at. And I really need to get to bed because it is late and I have to get up at 5:30. So I am loving this, though. I got so emotional. I love the characters, all the side characters. The writing is amazing, like so character driven. And I love that kind of story, that I care about each of these characters. And it's just beautiful to see these two people that really love each other coming back together and having good communication, even though they've had so many issues in their marriage. Anyways, I need to stop talking. This clip is already like 13 minutes long. You know how I get. So I will probably not check in until I finish this book, and I will give you guys my final thoughts. I don't know if I'll finish it tomorrow. I have to start reading another arc, so I might read this when I get home from work and then read that one at work and stuff. But anyways, I will check back in with you once I finish this. See you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I am here with my final check-in, finally, for this MacKenzie vlog. I might show the footage ahead of this. I don't know if I'm going to end up putting it in my vlog or not, but it's just such a beautiful day in San Diego today. I left work and it was like 93 degrees. Ugh. But it's really beautiful outside, and I just kind of did some footage out by my mom's lily pond. I was gonna film over there, but the waterfall that they have, like the little like water pump in the pond, is just a little loud, so I figured I would bring it over here. So anyways, I finished the book last night. Let me grab it. Sorry, I kind of had it open to where I left to see what I needed to talk about, because I'm probably going to sum up like this last part not as in detail as the first thing. You know, that's what I end up doing half the time. But I adored this book. I do think the last half kind of went a little slower because we are dealing with Isabella like kind of waffling on them getting back together, even though it's obvious they need to get back together. But you learn so much about why they weren't together. And I do think, I think I brought up in the last clip that we did learn that her, that she had miscarried and he wasn't there for her. and all the times he would just kind of get in drunken fits and leave for weeks at a time. Now he thought, oh, we're constantly fighting, so let me just leave her so that, you know, she's at peace. I'll come back and things will be better. And that was kind of like a routine that they got into for a while. And it was not good for her. She was not happy. And so she had ended up leaving him a letter and leaving him. And it's been, I think, like 3.5 years. I'm thinking of them being split up. I'm thinking that's it. But, you know, now they're returning to London with that child that is not his, but thinks of him as her father. And he really takes it up on him. Like, she was going to be like, oh, I'll adopt the child. And he basically sets up right away to adopt the kid. And, you know, they have some really sweet moments of reconciliation. They're, you know, kind of getting sexual again. So he thinks, let's get this reunion on for real. And he has a solicitor come so that he can have this separation done. And she gets really pissed off. Like, you can't just jump to those conclusions. And I'm not ready to be back with you, which is kind of frustrating because I think he has really proved himself. I mean, he's been sober for years. He went through a lot to get sober and be able to be good enough for her. And, you know, he's not the same flighty kind of guy. And so, you know, he wants her back. He doesn't want to keep being in limbo. But he's at the house with her. They're living together. We're also dealing this stupid fucking bird out here. I don't know if you can hear that. It's like, shut up. Okay, sorry. We're going to have to deal with it in the background because I need to finish this. So we're also dealing with the Mac thing. I don't know if I brought up the Mac imposter. I don't know if I brought this up previously, but she does end up to kind of finally going to go meet her sister. And the Mac imposter like attacks her when she was going to meet her in the park. Luckily, Mac basically decided to follow because he wanted to make sure she was going to be okay. And the guy gets away, but like he hit her and everything and was like, you're my wife. I'm taking you with me. And this guy is basically wants to be Mac and take over his life. So it's pretty crazy. So, oh my God, this fucking bird. I can't take this fucking birds. Okay, so it's gonna drive me crazy. All right, so now he's extra protective over her. So when they get in this fight where she's mad about him wanting them to, you know, dissolve their separation, she wants to go off on her own, and he basically goes with her. So it's a little bit of this waffling back and forth of her, like, not making a decision. But you have to, like, it does some really important, like, really upsetting flashbacks. Okay, I'm going to have to move away from over here. Okay, I can still hear this fucking bird, but we're going to continue over here. So, she is kind of waffling, but there's some really good you know, flashbacks where you see why she is like this. And that now my cat's out here. And you know, like you get to see when he learned about the miscarriage and he came home and kind of wanted to be comforted by her and wasn't as sensitive as she wanted. And she was just so checked out that she's like, I don't have any comfort to give you. And then he goes on to say like, oh, we can try again and this and that. And when do you want to try again? And that just really pissed her off too. So there's some really real, you know, scenes I think will be hard for people because I think a lot of people can relate to those. And, you know, with miscarriages and the trauma that goes on both sides after losing a baby. And she didn't want to like have sex after that. And she was afraid of having another miscarriage and all this stuff. I'm going crazy with this fucking bird. Okay. So I'm sorry. This last clip is just frustrating because this bird's driving me nuts. You might not even be able to hear it. But anyways, so that's kind of what's going on. We have them finally like coming together. She basically tells him he needs to kind of woo her over again. And so he is kind of like courting her, taking her out for walks, doing all these type of things. And then they end up him being like, well, I'm going to have to lose that bet. I'm going to have to lose that bet because I'm not going to paint you in those nude photos that he had like a bet. And she's like, no, let's do it. So they kind of keep doing those. And he's like rediscovering his art and that his artistry didn't go away. Like he always felt like he lost it when they split up, and he's finding the passion for art again. And so that's really amazing. But he ends up just calling it as him failing because he's like, there's no way I'm showing these paintings to anybody. They're for us. And so that kind of helps them come closer together too. And they're getting sexual again. You know, they're really discovering each other and rebuilding their relationship. And it's just really beautiful. But you know, like Ian comes in once in a while and he's like, you haven't done enough. Like, are you together yet? Are you together? And he's like, well, it's complicated. No, he's like, you're not doing enough. You need to show her everything. You need to get in, like, reveal everything to her, you know, really get vulnerable. And like Ian's basically like, no, you're not doing enough. But this whole like third act suspense kind of happens, of course, with this imposter because they're trying to hunt him down. And he ends up getting Mac. What's your deal, Tootsie? I don't think my cat likes this bird either. This is such a disaster vlog right now. Anyways, my cat won't stop meowing now. I'm sorry, guys. I just need to wrap this up. So, you know, he ends up kind of trapping Mac, and he ends up shooting him, and so he's trying to draw Isabella to him so that he can take his rightful wife. And this guy's just crazy. There's not a lot to it. It's just he thought he was a good artist, but he came from nothing, and he thought he could be as good as, you know, I'm walking away from this. He thought he could be as good as Mac at being an artist, but he wasn't from privilege. And so he decided he wanted to have Mac's life. And so that's kind of why he's trying to take over his life. So this guy's just nuts. But they end up finding him and saving him, killing the guy, all of that. And so now they are back together. She wants to be married to him in full. There's just so many sweet moments. I'm really summing it up because this bird is making me want to kill myself. But it was fantastic. And then you have this really sweet epilogue because they do end up getting pregnant and having the baby and everything. And you see Ian and his wife with their baby, and they're with their baby, and she's pregnant again. And so it's just very, very sweet. I thought this is one of the best second chance romances I've ever read. I loved the characters. I loved like their longing and how devoted they were to each other. Mac was one of my favorites. He was so swoony and sweet, and he just loved her so much. I mean, he was a mess before, you know, he was this drunk. He had to really struggle to deal with his alcoholism and, you know, everything like that so that he could be a good man for her. And he really does step up to the plate and just show her that he deserves her. And so it was just so sweet to see him adopt that child and then them be able to have their own children as well. So I really, really love this. I can't wait to continue with the series. I get what the hype is about. I do think these are worth the hype. I adore Jennifer Ashley's writing. I think it's so eloquent, beautiful. It hooked me from the start. I was very invested in this family and these characters. So if you haven't read these yet, I definitely recommend them, and I will be continuing. I think I only have the other two that I bought like on eBay or something. But I will definitely be continuing. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this. Sorry this last clip is a freaking disaster, but hopefully you can't hear the bird and it's only me. But we'll see when I edit. All right, thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next one.